Welcome to the Power Panel Podcast, a show where we follow the leadership journeys of exceptional African women at the helm of public service and civil society. Our question is, how do African women lead and deploy power? I am your host, Ambassador Raychelle Omamo, a senior counsel, diplomat, and former cabinet minister in Kenya. As promised, we continue with our recap of Season 1 of the Power Panel podcast, highlighting 4 more riveting episodes. Please share your thoughts by posting them in the comments section below or email us at hello@birdsongafrica.com. Subscribe to the Power Panel podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Episode 5, The Indomitable Public Servant, featuring Sicily Kariuki.
I was very exposed to seeing what power meant at a very early age. It meant to me that you need it, you claim it, you go for it, is the only path that I was going to follow in life. But it also meant for me the place of role modeling in leadership can never be taken away.
We can distill 2 leadership insights. First, it is important to set ambitious goals and to take consistent action to attain them. Second, you must adapt your leadership style to suit your environment.
I also needed to confirm to the world, and Kenya in particular, that it is a season for women leaders in the public sector. I found myself in an absolutely male-dominated space all the time. What people didn't prepare me well to do is to balance between power, politics, and leadership. That balance is what nobody will ever teach you, and therefore I was on eggshells almost every day, but it took blood and sweat.
We observe that leadership at high levels of government requires political dexterity, meaning the competence to craft a clear purpose, the ability to build trust, the willingness to be adaptable and alert, and finally, the artful skills of networking and negotiation.
There is such a reputational risk, which I suffered myself, my family suffered.
After having grappled with power in high office, what is her power mantra?
Leadership, to me, is a rare opportunity to positively impact others. It is not about you. It is about the positive impact to the next person, particularly if the next person is vulnerable.
Episode 6, The Quintessential Change Agent, featuring Her Excellency Zainab Bangura.
I was born to illiterate parents. When I say we're at the bottom of the ladder, extremely poor. But for me, the one thing that I remember very clearly as I grew up was my mother instilling in me that this is temporal, that you can change it. So within a period of 3 years, I became a fellow of the Chartered Insurance Institute. So I became the most qualified, and I was more qualified than my boss. That's how I did it. That's ambition. I was determined. If I learned anything, loyalty, you earn it. You don't buy it.
We observe Zainab applying the life lessons her mother taught her to escape poverty and embrace leadership. Her swift ascent up the corporate ladder exemplifies strategic thinking, emotional intelligence, and interpersonal abilities.
I have the gift of the gab. I can talk. The awareness is created that women are a force to reckon with.
The lesson we draw is this: the transformation of society the advancement of democracy and peace requires the meaningful participation of women and respect for their dignity and rights. Zainab clearly understood this and was prepared to use her power to effectively mobilize women to stay in the fight and to make the personal sacrifices.
I realized that for you to get to the power, the seat of power, you have to make many compromises. What is important is strategic networking. Appreciating people, looking for people who are important to you. And I tell people when I mentor them as a woman, I never sit on the second row. When I go for meeting, I say to people, if you remember one person in this meeting, it's Zainab Bangura, because I make sure I leave something in your brain about me. Success is not the glory. It's how you make a difference in people's lives.
I asked Zainab to reflect on her power mantra. What would she say about women's power and leadership?
One of the lessons I learned is the definition of power to women is different to men. Men, the power is command, is control. I'm in charge here, I'm the one who makes the decision, I'm the policy. The power for women is caring, bringing people together, how you touch their life, how you change their life, what a difference you make to them, how you make them feel. For me, that is power. That's what you do for people to succeed. It is how you give yourself to people for people to understand you are part of them. That you see them, you hear them, you listen to them, you appreciate them. So no matter whether he's illiterate, I patient, I listen, I talk. People say the next century is African, but that cannot happen without the women of Africa. We bring into society, into governance, into everything, the things that make us as women, the caring, the nurturing, the building, the cooperation. Being a mother and a sister, the listening ability. So women have special skills that when you put them into governance, they make a difference.
Episode 7, Bold Leadership, featuring Janah Ncube.
I was a very angry child, oh my goodness. A lot of my leadership actually is informed by anger because of the sense of injustice. Grew up hating poverty and also grew up with a sense of injustice as a girl. You do what you gotta do so that you can do what you want to do. I really was captivated by the agenda for changing this constitution because I was so passionate. I was an activist by night. I learned to tell the story of me and connecting it with the story of us as Zimbabweans.
Janah teaches us to be proactive and bold as we traverse our leadership paths. Value what you have, seek out mentors, and push yourself beyond your limits.
I was one of those people who was thoroughly blessed to be mentored by some of the best brains in this country at that time. And as women, we don't do a good job of articulating that we actually want power.
We learned that women's leadership in Africa is insufficient if it does not translate into tangible benefits for ordinary women and girls on our continent. What is your purpose?
For me, I have arrived at understanding it as helping people understand how can they use what they have to transform their situations.
What would Janah say about power and leadership? What is her power mantra?
I do say to a lot of people, especially having worked across different sectors and different levels and now globally, and also having worked conscious that I came in as an other who was undermined many times. I've learned that no one can argue with the quality of your work. They may not like you, they may look down upon you, but the quality of your delivery and content will speak for you. And so the challenge for me out of that is then always to also be excellent. And I think in many instances that made me notable. If it was an intervention in a meeting, I'm making sure that I'm putting in a statement that will actually change the course of the meeting, because it's such a qualitative statement and everybody will start saying, as Janah said. If it's a report that I've written, I've really done my part, my research, my homework to make sure that even if people think they wanted to despise me, they can't argue with what is in it. So apply yourself, but also trust yourself. Embrace your power and walk in it.
Episode 8, Authentic Effervescent Leadership, featuring Dr. Wanjiru Kamau-Rutenberg.
I always have an opinion, that for sure. I may not say it, but I always have an opinion. But importantly, if it doesn't make sense, I will ask. And I get into a fair bit of trouble, even as an adult, when I'm being told, just rubber stamp this and we keep it moving. I care deeply about building a just world. I've always been drawn to power, to understand it, to understand how it works. That's why I studied political science, because power is always about being in service of others. When your leadership style is the visible style, it means you get a lot of slings thrown at you because you're visible.
Self-exploration and expression early in life allows leadership talent to emerge. We learn from Wanjiru that natural traits that may appear negative to some people are, on the contrary, our superpowers, those unique elements that are capable of igniting our leadership.
All my education was the result of others investing in me. And so I felt a big debt of gratitude for that. If you want to pathologize me, there's many ways you can find pathologies. She's impulsive, she doesn't filter, she's opinionated. There's many ways to do it, but those are also my superpowers. So the founding of Akilidada was leadership bootcamp for the 26-year-old me, and God was kind. I got pregnant, like the day I signed my contract. Maybe 9 months later, baby. So within 3 months of signing my contract, I'm calling the board chair. So now, maternity leave. I think what's more important is less the accolades and more the track record that you build of people who can vouch for you, who can say, I have watched this woman work and she's good.
Leadership is not capricious. It is about making a substantial difference. Your track record speaks for you. In Wanjiru's case, she invests in women, embraces new challenges, and designs powerful tools to overcome social and cultural disadvantages.
Anti-Black racism is a global project. Power is not leadership. I love this phrase about leaders. If you call yourself a leader and no one's following you, you're just taking a walk. And there's a lot of people who have power who are taking a walk. Decouple power from money. That's one thing. And in the same way, decouple power from leadership.
With her leadership experience in national, continental, and global spaces, what is Wanjiru's power mantra?
Leadership is power in service to a community. Yeah. If I am very comfortable with power, if I'm clear it's in service to a community, whether a community I belong to or a community of others that I think need my help or I feel called to be in service to. But I'm comfortable with power if it is a tool in service. It never is just to sit on.
We thank you most sincerely for listening and look forward to your company as we recap the last 4 episodes of Season 1 next Tuesday. This is the Power Panel Podcast.